IVM.
Hey everybody, quick request once again, if you could help us out by filling out our survey. It's at ivmpodcast.com/survey. This really helps us talk to advertisers about the kinds of people listening to these shows. Really do appreciate your help, and we're going to be doing a random drawing, and we'll be sending out some IVM swag. Hope you enjoy that.
कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative. All right, time to talk about Cyrus said. We got a lovely guest who earns in 7 figures, but we'll come to him in a second. First, I just want to rant for a minute about what I experienced a couple of days ago in this little holiday weekend that we are going through as we record this. Went to a mall after a long time and was stunned to find that we Indians still haven't got it. Even after, 9 months, 10 months of this COVID and personal space issues, we still stand on each other's heels when you go onto an escalator. Escalator behavior has to be taught in schools now. I'm appealing to all the principals that when you go back to proper flesh and blood school, teach them how to walk on steps with a one-step gap in between each other. I hate it when somebody stands on my heel as I exit the escalator. I mean, why does that happen? Only in India. Never in Singapore, never in New York, never in London, probably never in Dhaka, but only in bloody Mumbai and Delhi does these things happen. So I need to put a stop to it. I appeal to the educational system to help us.
What are some of the radical changes that are now shaping our workspace? With physical distancing and heightened safety protocols being the norm, will technology finally make its large-scale entry to the workspace? Will design as we know it change for the long term? Is it possible for the Indian commercial real estate space to adopt a 360-degree approach to sustainability? Join our hosts at the Future of Space podcast by RMZ as we deliberate with industry leaders, analysts, and bright young minds on the way forward for the workspace given the new COVID normal. Tune in to the IVM Podcasts app or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
It's called Cyrus Says. Our guest is Navin Shenoy. I'll put my glasses on so I can see him. Navin, welcome to the show. Please don't reply because this show is crap and it's an exercise in futility. But for some reason, people come on and so we just pass time. It's a bit like governing the country. All right. I'm just going to give a proper introduction to you. You're, of course, Navin Shenoy, head of marketing, youth music and English entertainment. 2 things I didn't know were there. I thought we sold out on youth music to bikers in Chandigarh in a show called Roadies. And English entertainment, I thought that's only 9 p.m. on one channel. One was specific English news channel, whose name I can't take. Naveen, the floor is yours while I try and put together my chair. Yeah. All right.
Okay, lovely. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Naveen,
I'm of the wind.
Yeah.
We had you as a VJ.
Oh my God. We're of the Mangal Pandey vintage.
Oh, yes, we are. Yes, we are. And also, I remember one incident when, I was living in Bandra on Mount Mary Road and there was a brand which used to run a soapbox race. And I don't know whether you remember, but you came, I think you were the MC and there were 2 or 3 people sitting up in a balcony having beer and those 3. So yeah, I have fond memories of you.
God, that was a few years back. Those, what are they called? Soapbox. I know Red Bull was the sponsor. Yeah, races, yeah. Quite interesting. Innovative cars put together.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call them. Okay, so Naveen, let's first start at the campaign, which is basically going to be called, you tell me, Party Safely campaign or Safety campaign?
Party Safely, where we are saying, basically what we are saying is about the escalators. What we are calling out is the fact that there are COVIDiots out there. And the problem here is that, most people, and while you might call out the people standing on your heel, the problem is also the other half who are going out thinking that, while I am safe, it's going to be safe for everybody because I'm wearing my mask and I'm taking the precautions. But what you can't vouch for is the COVIDiot out there who's going to sort of crash all your plans and make sure that, you are in danger. So all we are saying is this holiday season where we normally, public health expert, they're expecting to see a hike in numbers. We are saying party safely. There are COVIDiots out there, so be careful.
Yeah, but just wearing the mask is okay for Halloween. But I was just thinking, after some time, you feel like a moron wearing a mask at a party, trying to have a drink, trying to chat with people. So where's the middle line? Is there a middle line of where logistically you can do it as well as still have fun, or you just look like a I understand what you're saying, but it's difficult. I've been to a couple of gatherings, and after some time, it really becomes keep the mask on. By the way, I'm keeping my mask on now that you mentioned it. Maybe not.
Yeah. See, I think in this season, definitely there might not be a middle line, Cyrus. I think it might be a great time to discover your family and figuring out who they really are. I think a lot of people in this lockdown have figured out that, hey, my family is not such a bad bunch of people.
No, so you're saying don't party at all then? It's not party safely. Say stay at home and watch the cricket.
No, we are saying party safely. Whatever you take out as the solution. But we are saying there are COVID hits out there. This is a public awareness campaign. We want you to be safe. So we are saying beware. When you reach a house and you see a sign saying Saudhan, Kutta, it's like that. We are saying beware, there are COVID hits out there. So be a little careful.
But I just spoke to a pal I spoke to a pal of mine, sorry, Navin, in Delhi, which is ahead of Mumbai now in many ways. And they have got this party for 31st organized, where house party, maybe small party, 30, 40 people. But you have to bring in your COVID certificate, take in the last 24 hours or 48 hours, just like you do at the airport or anywhere else. Is that good enough?
Good question, but who's vouching for the place and the people who are running the place? Like I'm saying, there will be a multitude of cleaners and chefs and caterers and people who are coming in close contact with all the stuff. And we all know that, the COVID virus sort of stays on surfaces for a longish period of time.
But I
think gatherings could be avoided unless it's your family.
But I heard that the surface contact tracing is not that, it's very low, it's in single digits in terms of, since you're playing the percentage game, that's one. And two, but how do we party then? Because either what you're saying, this is a bit like alcohol, where the government is saying, no, we won't promote alcohol, you can't advertise alcohol, but they still sell alcohol. So it's a little confusing. We're going to party, but the restrictions are ridiculous, so it doesn't become a party, or we have to find some sort of flexibility.
I think a house party with your family and maybe, one close friend is, I think, a great way to begin. See, because the multiplication factor, Cyrus, comes into play when 100 people who meet another 100 people and then go back to their 100 homes. The number of touch points increase. That's the only logic. And when millions of people or maybe 1 billion people in this country do that in one night or in 1 week, that's when you see a spike.
What about things like sharing?
But clearly, Cyrus, you're making me sound like a public health safety official now.
No, I'm sorry, Navin. I'm playing the devil's advocate for a simple reason. I've gone a little crazy in my lane. I'm almost become a co-vidiot myself because of the building WhatsApps. They drive me nuts. I mean, they send little things like, there's a young boy in our lobby without a mask. Some 9-year-old kid who's being picked up or something. And so it's gone the other way. So I just have to, after some time, just think about it. Because, after some time, you just think it's just madness. It's just like political philosophy. You go too right or too left. It just doesn't make sense after some time. So I just feel this while safety is important, the fear paranoia has destroyed the spirit of everybody and they're just nuts. And, I see a person, my mom the other day said she'll wear 2 masks because she wants to go to the club for the first time. I was like, okay, but what's the point of that? I don't understand. And then there's someone in the building opposite me, an 85-year-old lady who's never left the room, wears the mask all the time, met nobody, and she's got COVID. So no one can explain that. So I'm just thinking that people have gone paranoid in their whole thinking, and the strategy doesn't correlate to the success because there are enough people who've been very orthodox, worn masks, done everything correctly, and still got it. So that's my only point. So after some time, you just wonder whether science will prove that this mask was a waste of time. You just look like a fool.
2 things people are doing clearly, both young and old: cycles and dogs. And I think both are helping people to overcome some of the loneliness caused by the isolation and the social distancing. Cycles because people are getting up early morning and sort of clubbing together and cycling down and maybe having a chai and so on. And dogs, really, I think dog adoption has really gone up multifold. So clearly there are other avenues to visit if you're feeling very lonely and you're not being able to party.
Yeah, but don't make the mistake of, walking your cycle and riding your dog, because there are also those kind of covidiots out there. Don't pay attention to what they're doing. But, you're right. I've noticed that even in our lane, about 3 new puppies have come. There's just a small lane of poor people in Malabar Hill with less than 4 cars per family. So that I guess you can look at it that way. So let me just come back to your campaign now, the VH1 campaign. Now, your VH1, you stand for the rock generation. And, there's a little bit of a paradox. I'm being Ornob here just to irritate you, but also because I'm just trying to think from the other side all the time. VH1 growing up is all about partying, rock, the attitude, which transcends generations, honestly. It just continues. So what do we do about partying there? What is your real message about? What will you do? What is Navin going to do? What is the VH1 guys going to do?
See, Navin and the VH1 guys are going to walk the talk. So what they're going to be doing is partying with family and maybe a close friend or two. And that's really the best way to go, I think, to avoid this multiplication factor. As far as where VH1 is going, Cyrus, I think VH1 always has been what you might call a window into global culture. And earlier, I think global culture was always looking westward, right? It was unidimensional.
Right.
But now, let's say in the last 3 years, for example, on VH1, we've built up K-pop. Because we saw that earlier it was a niche segment, but now it's really grown.
K-pop?
We said K-pop.
Okay,
K-pop we haven't promoted much.
So sorry. I don't know why I heard gay pop and just for Kripaya Dhyan Dijiye, gay pop is also fine. We don't not endorse it. It's great. So K-pop, sorry.
Yeah. VH1 supports gay pop as well.
Yes, yes. And if K-pop is gay pop, then that's fine too. Back to K-pop. K-pop is the Korean sensations, right?
The Korean sensation, yeah. And now I believe
follows one of those bands that almost equal the Beatles record, huh?
Yeah, and now in lockdown, I think both Korean music and Korean cuisine has really taken off. Because one of the most searched genres by young people right now is YouTube videos on how to cook whatever, how to cook this and that and so on.
So South Korean, let's just point out South Korean. North Korean cuisine so far not that, not hitting the ropes at the moment as we speak. It's like subcultural shift there. So coming back to VH1 and all, you've mentioned dogs, you mentioned cycles, you mentioned all kinds of things. But this whole 31st, look, our generation, the people who watch VH1, the people who've grown up with music in the background, they all want to party. There's a thirst for partying. And hence we're having these problems. Well, whether you like it or not, people will gather and there will be some amount of partying that's going to happen. It has happened on 24th night, will happen on 31st and in January as well, because the weather being better in our part of the world, I think people just tend to have more parties in the old days. So I'm saying, you said there's no middle path, but then why are we saying party safely? Should we just say don't party till such a time?
No, party, Cyrus, if you take a single definition of party, which means there have to be thousands of people all cramped into a small place and sweaty armpits and people jumping around, then that's one kind of party. I think there are multiple ways to party safely. What we are saying is avoid this first kind of party where people are jammed into each other and, there's very little space to move around and there's no social distancing. There are easy ways of partying at home, and I think that might be a great one. If you do step out, then
Navin, we are stuck with the same family for the last 10 months. Even my parents say, can you send another son home? It's like, after some time, that's also a bit irritating, right? That is why
maybe that's an idea, Cyrus. Maybe a son exchange. Like, you could come over to my place and I go over to your place.
Arey beta, Indian male is God. You think anyone will let their son go? I'm still living at home in my late 40s. My poor wife, how much she tried. Let's switch to the co-idiots, as you call them, for a second. I just few days back, I'm sure you have your own stories to tell us. A gentleman, not a gentleman, well, a gentleman is a rough word, just a man on the road, was walking without the mask close to me, etc. And I just told him, mask nahi pehenta, not even in an arrogant, aggressive way, which is always the wrong way to tell people. I said it pleasantly, I thought I did. And he said, main sir jhuk jata hu, aisa. And he did this acting, sir jhuk jata, and he put his head down. So his point being that if I don't look up, I presume I'm not going to pass the virus. What do you say to someone like that?
I think you don't say anything. You walk far away from this person and get home as soon as possible. So I'll tell you this other guy I met. Mumbai has these small-time fool walas who give you fool and so on, right? So around Diwali, I think I'd just gone to buy some flowers. And there was a young gentleman right next to me at a distance of 3-4 feet who was chatting up the fool wala. And the fool wala clearly had decided that masks are for losers. So I had to stand far away. And the more I asked him about the mask, he said, sir, nahi, मैं जो लेता हूँ ना उससे किसी को COVID नहीं होगा. And then he proceeded to tell the guy next to me कि अरे I haven't seen your dad in a long time. And the guy said, listen, dad is really scared of this because he is now 75. तो पिताजी तो घर पे ही बैठे हैं and he doesn't want to come out now because he thinks as soon as he steps out, he's going to be grabbed by the virus. To which the fool wala says, एक बार पिताजी को मेरे पास भेज दो, मैं जो दवाई दूंगा, उसके बाद COVID पूरा fail हो जाएगा. So when you have people like this,
so he's a doctor first and a fool wala second. Let's get that clear. Did you find out what it was? I'm fascinated by all these village concoctions or whatever things that people come up with.
No, I haven't. But the funniest, many years back when I was working at Low and we had done a CSR campaign on, on safe sex, right? It was reasonably popular at that time, which was Balbir Pasha ko AIDS hoga kya?
Yeah, I think I remember this.
Yeah. So we concocted a character called Balbir Pasha, and the whole thing was about myths that people have about safe sex. And we really went and met people who would visit red light areas and so on. And they were so confident, Cyrus, I must tell you. And they had stuff like, I visit only one woman, so I am loyal. So there's no way that I need to use a condom.
That's the same guy at the pool wala. It's clearly the same guy you caught later. Yeah.
Same clan. And there was a guy who said, मैं आपको बताता हूँ इसकी तरकीब. As soon as you do the act, have a bottle of soda. And he said, then go and urinate. And any virus in your body will be ejected. And this is a guy saying this with full confidence and probably practicing it as well. So the same guy is the COVIDiot now.
So one sec, let's put it in perspective here. When he goes out on a lovemaking session, he carries the soda instead of a condom. So I just want to know. These are the great men of our times. We should celebrate. The VH1 should do a whole package on this, bro. You are letting these guys go. This is gold for us, really. So in a country of 1.3 billion, I mean, what are our chances? Sometimes I want to give up because there's enough. I mean, you don't even need so many. You just need a few, and we definitely have many. So what's the solution then? I mean, you don't want to talk to the guy outside the pool wala. You don't want to try and educate him. It becomes a macho thing, and they don't respond well. I've tried it a few times, and they respond in a slightly aggressive fashion, and then goes nowhere. And you don't want to get into a scrap for nothing. So what do we do? Because there are campaigns everywhere. People are talking about it, from radio to this podcast to everywhere. What do we do?
Cyrus, you can only control the controllables. Wear your mask, keep your hands clean, and keep that distance. Those are the three things you can do. The COVIDiots are out there roaming around waiting to meet you. So you can choose to go meet them, or you can choose to be safe.
So you're saying just do your thing and don't bother about the rest because we can't control them.
Yeah, you can't. But the more you go out and the more crowded places you go to, the more mathematically you're probable to meet a COVIDiot.
That's true. So it's a game of percentages, just like cricket. You said you were in low for a little while. Do you remember a guy called Ajay Jhala?
Ajay Jhala was before my time, but yes, I know him.
Okay, because I just met him in the morning and he had the mask on his chin. I just wanted to tell you so you could give him a call. No, he's a lovely guy. Just kidding around. Yeah. Let's get back to VH1 then. You guys have seen, we're on the 10th month now. Europe is looking not so good. Although their not so good is different from our not so good because you shut down small cities there for 50 cases while we shut them down after thousands and unofficially maybe more. How has it affected? Has it affected you? Your programming? What are you going to put on air? How does one cope?
No, so music works on a large library, Cyrus. So I don't think we got affected in the programming sense. But obviously, there was a brief period of time when I think a lot of action in terms of producing new tracks or creating videos and so on was on the back burner. And I think now people are getting back into production and things like that with some amount of safety. Bio bubble is, I think, the new catchphrase there, where people check into a hotel or a studio setup and then you're in there for 7 days before you start working. Nobody comes in or goes out. So I think things are coming back on track. But yeah, I think overall people have watched a lot more TV in these 9 months. So we've had record numbers on VH1, right? Numbers that we've never done before. And to be honest, one can't claim full credit for because suddenly the spike has come because people are stuck at home and, wanting to watch TV.
Fair enough. So, in a way, you don't want COVID to end. In a way, in a very sensitive and, commercial sort of way. Fair enough. I was just thinking, I want to get into the Navin Shenoy story because that's actually our show, not just what the campaign and everything else is about. So that's our second half. But very quickly, why no Balbir Pasha sort of character maybe on VH1? I know you all don't do so many promos as mainstream MTV, but maybe you think that would help reaching out to people or it's pointless?
On the COVIDiot piece?
The COVID version of the sexual, irresponsible Indian male.
Yeah, it's not pointless, Cyrus, but I think it's a long haul. Behavior change has been proven to be a long haul. I think pretty much, if you can think of significant mass worldwide behavior change, then probably the Earth Hour is the number one and possibly one of only a handful of examples where, once a year people en masse go out and switch off the lights for an hour.
Correct.
That's real behavior change coming out in a way. But otherwise, I think really to change things over, there needs to be some kind of either a large unexplained intervention, like a COVID, which suddenly made people look at health in a different way and so on. But I think the people we are calling COVIDiots, there's no easy fix. It's not going to happen overnight, but we'll keep chipping away at it and hopefully we get there someday.
We interrupt Navin Shenoy's non-stop chatter to take a long break because that's what they do on VH1, by the way. Long breaks. Coming back.
Want to learn something new and have a few minutes to spare? Well, then go for the Traveling Professor's Diary, where I, Siddharth Deshmukh, the Traveling Professor, will help you glean from all the insights that I've gained from wherever I've traveled, learned, taught, and repeated. Join me every Tuesday and Thursday on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Also, Earth Hour is collective for 1 hour, whatever, a few minutes, etc. This is now talking about a lifestyle change, which a problem I had on the set. We were shooting something for a whole month or more than a month. The first 2-3 days with 200 people on the set, everybody is very careful. But by day 4, the set culture takes over. It's just, and then I don't even blame anyone because it's just impractical. Someone's trying to light, someone's trying to do makeup, someone's trying to fix something, pull a plug. It just becomes impossible to actually keep 10 feet distance and 8 feet distance. So it just doesn't happen.
True. I think the threshold of fear and uncertainty was, if you think of it in month 1, was massive. People were looking at everybody with mistrust and distrust, even their own family members. Yeah. And then slowly, I think people have settled down at different threshold levels of tolerance, saying, okay. And the people you're meeting generally are the people you hopefully are finding trustworthy, and you're assuming these are not COVIDiots. And that's how you're keeping safe.
Or maybe we can, if you're proven to be a COVIDiot twice, maybe we can tattoo it on your forehead or something. So then people know COVIDiot coming. I know it's a bit reminiscent of Nazi Germany, and I don't want to go there, but I'm just thinking maybe that would help.
True. Or tag their phones, and then, you open an app like Uber and you can see where the nearest COVIDiot is and you go the other way. Yeah, I think there are possible solutions other than vaccine.
What we've done with the Uber app, unbelievable. Navin, now I want to switch tracks and talk about you for a second, because the whole point of the show, which we try to do, is get interesting people to talk about their lives and where they come from, how to get to where they are. So now heading marketing at VH1, earning close to $25 million with stock options, voting Democratic there and communist here. CPI here. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you come from? How do you land up in the business? Let's go back a bit. What was school and college like?
Okay, I am from a Mangalorean family. We are a Konkani speaking family.
Oh, Shenoy. I thought Shenoy is Parsi. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it is also.
Close. We are also a small community, but possibly relatively larger than yours.
Are you a Bunt, Shetty?
No, Bunts and Shetties are Kannadigas. They're from Karnataka. We are the guys who were actually in Goa. So, since you asked, let me tell you the story.
Please do.
So, let me go back maybe a few hundred years, possibly. I think there is
the 45-minute show. Okay. Go on, bro. Go on.
Okay. So, one of the rivers that you would have read about in this country is the Saraswati River, right? And the Saraswati River used to flow up north. Mm-hmm. And many, many years back, the Saraswati River went underground. Yeah, that was Mother Nature changing her course. And at that time, and this Saraswati River would flow around the Kashmir sort of area.
Oh, this is the GSB story you're telling me.
Yeah, the GSB story. So from there, then my...
It's like, I'm GSB friends. Some uncle in their home has to tell me the story at some point. So you basically are from Kashmir or from the UP area, and then you landed in this area. Yeah. Fair enough.
Then they landed up in Goa, and then when the Portuguese came and then the operation happened, then come midnight one day, my ancestors would have jumped into a boat and paddled down to Mangalore, down the coast.
Oh, which operation are we talking about?
Which operation are we talking about? So this is just a small-time operation.
Oh, okay, a small-time operation. And so a few of you left Goa and went to Mangalore.
Yeah, so all Konkani-speaking people would come from Goa. Any Konkani-speaking person you meet would essentially need to be from Goa.
Right.
But depending on when they fled the Portuguese rule, they could have either gone down the coast to Kerala. So you might find Malayali-speaking GSBs. Or they might have fled down to Mangalore. So you might find Kannada-speaking GSBs. But the mother tongue remains Konkani.
So what do you have? What would be your mother tongue right now?
I speak Konkani, but because my folks 2 generations back, my ancestors would have settled down in Mangalore. So my parents can speak Konkani and Kannada and Tulu, which is the local language.
Okay, and you can speak English and Konkani and Hindi?
And Marathi and Gujarati.
Oh, wow. Gujarati bolis thodu?
Haan, thodu bolichu.
Oh, excellent. So can you, because we have extensive Konkani listeners as of now, can you tell them to party safely? And then we'll get back to your story. I'd love to hear what it sounds like.
Okay. Pura amchi gel logank migel namaskaru. Pura yat Christmas and party वेळ आयला. Pura safely party korka. चढ घराबाहेर दाखवून वाचून गर्दी आणि अशील कडे कोणाके मेळचा नज्ज घरकडे आरामशीर पार्टी करायची खाऊन पिऊन आराम मजा करायची.
What? Navin, in English it's 2 words. In Konkani, it was 45 minutes. It's a speech by a politician.
would sound very abrupt, Cyrus, if I just said
Fair
party
enough.
city.
No, I'm just pulling your leg. All right. Let's move back to your story. So you grew up where then? Essentially, Mangalore.
No, so I grew up in Mumbai. So I grew up in Ghatkopar.
So dad was transferred here. What happened?
My dad used to work, he worked with the PSU bank, Corporation Bank. So his job was a transferable one. So every 3 years he would get transferred.
Right.
But we were lucky that I was born in Pune, but then pretty much most of my schooling he was in Mumbai.
You're the worst guest with the origin story. I mean, this is the longest origin story ever. And honestly, you're almost a guy with no home. So in that way, you're a Pakka Indian. Because when you look at it, I mean, going to the GSB story via Kashmir, then going to Goa. From Goa, you land in maybe Bangalore. From there, dad gets transferred. But you were born in Pune, which came out of left field, even though you were in Bombay for your childhood. So, wow, fabulous. It's a great story, actually. Yeah, globalization. Huh.
True.
Right. So let's. We don't have too much time, so let's get right to it. Then schooling was in Mumbai.
Schooling was in Mumbai. I went to Raja Shivaji Vidyalaya, which is in Dadar next to Pasi Colony.
Oh, wow. No, so you picked up the two languages just by the swear words. I can imagine. Yeah. Huh.
And then I went to Xavier's for junior college, FYJC and SYJC, and then I'm an engineer by education because in those days you had to be an engineer before you figured out what you wanted to do.
That was a disgrace. I'm from the same generation, I think, engineers, lawyers, and a few of those who had their own businesses. All right. So then how did you get into, as an engineer, it looks like the typical middle class, the go-getter story. Where did you go off the track and get into advertising and then VH1?
Yeah. So no, when I finished my engineering, Cyrus, to be honest, and that those were the days when Infosys was recruiting by the dozen, and lots of people had a dream of, let me get into this and this is a ticket to go to the US. But coding, while it was part of my syllabus, I found it to be very boring. As in, it's great for people who enjoy it as a mental challenge and so on.
Navin, sorry to interrupt, but there is no person who doesn't find coding not boring. I cannot accept. The only problem is people have no social life, like coding, and that's different. But generally speaking, your point is well made. Huh.
So at which point in time I said, okay, what do? I came back home after engineering. My dad said, you better find a job and get to it. And just to delay getting to work, because I thought I was too young to work at 2021, I said, okay, no, Dad, I intend to study further. I went for an MBA. And while I was studying my MBA, I still had no clue what I was going to do. Even now I don't, but back then more so. But at that point in time, there was a gentleman from Law who used to come in as a professor of advertising and strategic management. And I was fascinated because he used to quote couplets from the Gita and link that to people's psyche and so on.
Is this Yogi Adityanath?
Not Yogi Adityanath. Santosh Sood, his name was. He was a great guy.
Huh.
That made me believe that this is the way to go. And that's when I started off in advertising. Again, I started in advertising because the advertising folks came and they gave a pre-placement talk and they said, we build brands, and they showed the Bajaj showreel and, all the Indian brands they built, Lifebuoy and Lux and so on. I said, this is magic. I want to create this magic. And I joined them. And then after joining, I realized I was the lowest paid guy in the whole batch, even though I was placed on day one. But yeah, okay, I think no regrets. Most of my learning came in those first few years,
So what did your father say to Beta, who comes back with an engineering degree and on his way to an MBA degree and suddenly has the job in a very strange so-called creative field?
Not much. My dad is a man of few words, so he didn't say much. My mom looked at my first paycheck and said, that's it, at the end of 6 years of studying. No, but really, I was heartbroken, but I guess now in hindsight, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. But you felt immediately that, with all the background that you had and corporate sort of background that you had, bank and corporate background, you immediately felt that this was the place to be, or you just wanted to give it a little try and slowly found your feet?
No, advertising and brands and storytelling, I always thought, once I started doing it, I thought this is where I want to be. And advertising, honestly, is a place I really love because that's one of the first possible working cultures where everybody can be who they are. You don't need to be, let's say, the typical model of the gregarious, extroverted person which you need in the corporate world. Yeah. In the advertising world, you could be an unshaven, vagabond. You could be an LGBTQI community person, but everybody is welcome in that community. So great place. Also, the width of experience you get.
The spectrum from shaven to LGBT are wonderful. You've really covered everything. I'm just thinking. Yeah. With Piyush Pandey in the middle, wearing black.
Yeah.
One quick question on an almost serious note, which is, you think there's something wrong with our system sometimes, that the Navin Shenoys would have got trapped in engineering, probably done well financially, but bored out of his mind building a bridge or whatever, working in a corporate company as an engineer. Why is it that we don't seem to get the people the right guidance, counseling, where the fit happens at the right time, so people pursue what they really want to do and what they're really interested in doing, rather than what they think they should do, which is, I think, the biggest problem in middle class India, at least from our generation on.
Yeah, true. No, I think it's the system, Cyrus. I think the education system is too straitjacketed. I think there are very few streams available, and people follow 3, 4, 5 set paths. And I think the education system is long overdue for a huge overhaul.
Right.
Of any kind. I'm saying even the fact that, see, just like work from home, redefine the fact that everybody needs to come into office every day for a certain number of hours, and now not doing it, you're still working, it's working out fine for you. I think the education system needs an overhaul of some kind, where everybody going in learning the same thing over the same number of years might not be the best experience.
But don't mention this too much about the working from home thing. I wanted to end because they're paying us less every time. I don't know how you guys are doing it, but the VH1 has got a different deal going. But for us, whatever work that's coming from home is at half rate and 1/3 rate. So I can't wait to not work from home in that sense. But yeah, I get what you're saying. The way we've been trained is just doesn't give you any flexibility and doesn't give a person a chance. And there are too many frustrated Indians, males as well as females, all over the country, who suddenly look at an Indian Idol and know that they're as good as the guy there, but they're stuck, with a decent job or whatever, dentist or engineer or small business or what have you. But that frustration it's beyond tangible frustration, because the person is just unhappy. They didn't live a full life because they didn't pursue what they could have really enjoyed. It's like marrying the wrong woman, which is par for the course.
True. So what happens is, when youngsters here grow up, I think one of the things that happens is alcohol and smoking becomes a hobby. And that's because everybody else is doing it and people don't have access to anything. So young people go down that line. One of my favorite case studies in this regard is government of Iceland and what they did for smoking and drinking. It's a bit of a digression, but let me just inform you on this. So what happened was, the public health safety guys in Iceland figured out, possibly around 15, 16 years back, that around 60%, when they did a survey and asked the question, in the last week, have you smoked or had a drink? Around 60% of teenagers said yes, which is when the alarm bells rung, and they said, listen, 60% in smoking and drinking, there's clearly something wrong. And after a lot of confabulations and thinking about what to do, they figured out, the psychologist said, young people basically need a hit in their brain. The current easiest access hit is the smoke and the drink. Why don't you build sports facilities in a way that within a radius of 2 kilometers, everybody can access a massive sports center? And they've done that. And in 16 years now, it's around 16% of teenagers who now smoke and drink.
It's also because the last set of teenagers are now adults. So the maths won't apply, but ignore that. Yeah. But no, you're right.
Yeah, so young people, if you give them the avenues, I think young people will blossom in more ways than one.
So to understand what you're saying that when you're at that age group, let's say 15 to say 20, 25, you have this, you need an adrenaline rush of some sort. Something has to be fed to that need. And if you don't get a positive feed, you get a negative feed. Am I right to say?
Absolutely.
All right.
It could come from art or sports or whatever, but unfortunately, we are not building that infra.
Did Navin smoke and drink as a 18-year-old?
Of course.
Lovely.
He's speaking from experience.
A prophet must preach after finishing his course. Fair enough. Okay, let's quickly...
No, but I was a chain smoker for 11, 12 long years, but now I've been off it for 10 odd years, Cyrus. So I've preached from a position of...
I think so. I hate those guys who sell alcohol and have never tried it. Come on, it's wrong. You're absolutely right.
No, I've got a lot of friends in the alcohol industry, so I think it's great for people who think they can digest it. So they should go out and enjoy that.
You're not talking about anti-alcohol. It's two different things. Teenage drinking is just, looking for trouble in a sense. When you're 15, 16, it's a little dangerous. Fair enough. I hope the sponsors stay now. Huh? We've done the right thing. Let's get back then. So how do you make the transformation from advertising to the music channel business or TV, essentially?
Yeah. So there was a bit of a digression from there. So what happened was, after 3 years of doing advertising in Mumbai, I got a chance to go and live in Indonesia for 2 years and work there in the advertising industry in Jakarta.
Okay.
In Jakarta. So that was a fabulous experience. And when I came back, enriched by this experience of 2 years living with the Indonesians, is when telecom beckoned. So then I've done a stint in telecom and telecom marketing. This is the days of boom in the telecom industry. And also, I was part of the team that launched Tata Docomo. I don't know whether you remember this brand.
Huge. Yeah.
So we made a huge impact and disrupted that whole industry. And we, when we launched with pay-per second pricing,
right,
and we repositioned the whole market as, unfair, big, out to jip you kind of operators. And so we had a good run at Tata Docomo before regulatory and other issues sort of gobbled us up.
You have all these successful projects under your belt. You've got like an international chap on your shoulder. Why would you suddenly, you'll be heading an advertising agency, I presume, by now?
Yeah, but the other thing I have preferred to do, Cyrus, is, and I have enough friends who've done the other bit also, which is stay with an organization and, grow with the organization as family and sort of
You're a one-woman man, Navin. A one-woman man.
No, I'm a bit of a nomad because advertising was a great flavor. Then telecom was another flavor. And now I'm enjoying the media flavor.
All right.
So yeah, I think.
Note to self, Navin ignores my one-woman man comments. So something we must probe later off camera, offline. Yeah. All right. Okay. Listen, it's been great talking to you, but you're not telling me how you finally got into VH1, and then I want you to end with the campaign again.
No, actually, I got in. VH1 is something that I added to my portfolio here, Cyrus. I actually joined MTV. So what happened was there was an esteemed gentleman named Raj Nayak and Farzad Palia. Both of them. Farzad's still there, yes. I work with Farzad. So when they contacted me and said, MTV is this great brand that you would have enjoyed in your youth and so on. And we've got this MAGA equivalent, which is Make MTV Great Again as a mission. And would you want to join? And I said, great, sounds exciting, is when I joined them.
This is before Barack Obama came up with the same slogan.
Before who came up with the same slogan.
Right. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
so then I joined them, and a year after seeing my great work, then they said, okay, why don't you handle some of these other brands as well?
All right. Worst employee you met in MTV, since I know a few of them, the oldies?
There's no worst employee there yet.
Come on, Bhavan. Maybe they've left. Who was your favorite?
Favorite who? Ranjit was my favorite. You met Ranjit?
Of course. Excellent.
He's a great guy. Always smiling and doing his bit.
Yeah, why is he always smiling? Really? Must be watching some other programming, as far as I'm concerned. A quick word. So now with this VH1 party safely thing, there's no active work on this by VH1, is it? Are you going to put things up and all that, or is it just a message that you want to give out?
It's a message. We'll mostly be disseminating through social media, and our TV channels, Cyrus.
All right. So because there's, other than sending the message, there's nothing we can do. When do you expect us to have concerts and all? Do you have any idea when we can have like live audiences back, concerts back, the things that you guys do?
Majorly governed by regulatory, so I don't see that happening for at least another 6 months, Cyrus.
God.
I was watching in the UK, they've already started concerts, where they've created little metal cages where there are 3 people allowed per cage, and the cages are at a 6 feet distance. I'm not sure if that works, financially, or whether it works as an experience for people.
It's a visual treat as far as I'm concerned. You don't need to go to the zoo, just watch your local rock band. All right. Navin, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Lovely to hear from you. I don't know whether it's going to work because I've become a cynic, and I think it's a futile attempt to help anyone. I think the vaccine and the vaccine alone, or just herd immunity, is going to help. But let's see. We will take you at your word and party safely. And just for the record, since you were a chain smoker, then gave it up and now preach the harmful effects of tobacco. Similarly, what are you going to do? You're staying at home with your family.
Staying at home with family, just doing a bit of a barbecue in the backyard.
Okay. He's lucky enough to have a backyard. Back here in South Mumbai, our backyard is basically, somebody else's house. So I don't know if we can do that.
Yeah, so that's my luck because right now I'm in Indore at my in-laws' place. So they've got a backyard.
You'll be outdoor in Indore on 31st.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yes.
All right, Navin. Cheers, man. Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. One more reminder, people, please go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and help us out. It will take you a couple of minutes to fill out this survey, but it really is very, very helpful for us. For the people who do fill out the survey and are willing to drop us their email address, we're going to do a special drawing and send out some IVM swag to everybody. So please do help us out with that. But what a week it's been on the network. There's so many things to talk to you all about. Let me run through some of the biggest highlights really, really quickly, right? So Sanjay Jha was on Cyrus Says. What an incredible conversation. I mean, I can't say enough about it. Check that out. We had Hansal Mehta on Marukinaya's Note. talking about 1992 Scam. Amazing stuff. We had Vishal Gondal talking to Nikhil Advani about his career in film. On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vineet spoke to Gunjan Arya, the CEO of OML, and Samiksha Unyal from Bacardi about the history of NH7, the Weekender Festival. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav had an amazing episode about the Bushmen of Kalahari. Begin the Journey, Ashish Vidyarthi talks about career choices. On Nankari, they talk about cake. What a fun show that was. And on This Round is on Me, we had Dr. Sanjay Arora talking to Gauri about Suburban Diagnostics and Company and what he sees as the future of healthcare in India. And for our Tamil speakers, if you haven't been checking out Sivakami and Sabatam, why haven't you? Please do go check that out. Kavita's doing an amazing job telling that story. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me. And now it's AMAs with the one and only Silvery and just me, I think, today. Silvery.
Hey. Hi, Cyrus.
Hi.
Let's get to the first question. It's a slightly long one, but it comes from Dhruv Mehendirata.
Oh, that's a Punjabi surname. I have a friend with the same surname. Yeah.
Mehendirata, okay.
Mehendirata.
Mehendirata, okay. Hey guys, 3 days ago I read this article in the Ideas page of the Indian Express titled 6 months and 6 crores later. And I wondered what that could have been about. And it was about the 6-month anniversary of SSR's death. The article goes on to say that 6 crore rupees were spent in the investigation employing people from Patna Police, Mumbai Police, CBI, ED, various legal courts, logistics, etc., etc. And what is the result of 6 months later? Was it suicide? Was it murder? Is his girlfriend guilty of anything? There are so many questions and allegations. Are any of them true? What about the defamation she has gone through? All news channels were bombarding questions and speculating what happened for weeks, blah, blah, blah. He goes on to say, his final thing is, why isn't anyone asking for what the conclusion is? What do you guys think about this? Did this case really have some backing to it, or was it motivated by something else?
I mean, his question is the answer. There's nothing for us to say. All I'm thinking is 6 crores is a little low. They've not put the miscellaneous expenses because when police teams come from one city to another, there's also other things they buy, like shopping at Fashion Street or Linking Road in car, trying out the Starbucks, which is not there perhaps near their local police station. Yeah. So all that is also there, which is not included. We're only talking about travel and check payment stuff.
Yeah. And they also have to pay for quarantine once they come into other different cities.
Yes, exactly. If you want it faster, you have to pay extra. There's a premium grade now, like how you have business and first class in a plane. So luckily in India, because of our caste system, everything has a hierarchy. So everything can be done. Having said that, I think it's just a ridiculous joke what's happened so far in terms of once in India, you can make an allegation about anything and that's it. It ends there. It's really unfair that having done that, I won't mention the person who's responsible for this probe, but he's a lawyer actually, from what I gather. He is an LLB and he's also a person who runs a news channel. But he's not an investigative officer of any kind. He opened the can of worms, so to speak, but there were no worms. It's just a can, like tomato juice, nothing more. So it's just ridiculous that no defamation, no action can be taken because poor Ria and her family, if they are innocent, they largely seem to be, it's just unfair. You've destroyed their lives. If you're not destroyed it forever, it'll take them 1 or 2 years just to get back into the mainstream. The people will treat them with shame. You know how we Indians are. I remember once I spat on the road and I got a citation for best Indian in Malabar Hill. But, you try to save a puppy or something like that and 15 people attack you. So we're very confused lot as far as I know. So Ms. Mehendiratan, I salute you. Your question and answer is correct, which is the answer is the question, which is exactly what you said. But now we live in this topsy-turvy world where all this happens. In the meantime, across the Atlantic, there's a man pardoning all his friends in a mad, rabid, last-minute spree. Pardoned. Blood relative pardoned. True marriage relative pardoned.
All right, Ria should just shift to America. What is it?
Exactly. Although we have our own versions here, we won't take names. Moving on.
Yeah. All right. Next one comes in from Dr. Irfan Jhabuawala. He says, "Hi Cyrus, love your podcast. I have a huge issue with the way meat is termed as non-veg. I mean, what does that even mean? Non is a negative suffix that means to insinuate that it's wrong to eat meat and vegetarians are pure. And this seems to be an Indian thing, as I have never seen this term used anywhere else in the West, except again in Indian restaurants in places like Toronto.
Yeah,
what do you think about the term non-veg?"
Irfan is spot on again because they don't write the word non-veg, veg. So when I dine with my mixed friends, we always have veg and non-veg mixed in Indian groups. It's always a problem because you have to explain. It's sometimes a foreign language, so you have no idea what it is. You're just reading out beef, and then it's a pure red meat that comes on the plate. So Irfan is right again. Let's salute him as the second great philosopher that we met in the recent past. Kunal Vijayakar, my good friend, is the person who should join arms with Irfan about this whole thing. Because in the list of people who are oppressed in our country, meat eaters are also there somewhere towards the bottom and made to feel really bad. Just how smokers were one time the very cool people in the 80s and 90s and then suddenly became the pariahs of the community. The non-veg guys are now feeling bad wherever they go because non-veg is slowly being controlled, curtailed, and I dare say one day completely taken out. Morally, I think it's the right thing to do. But for those of us raised on meat, it's really difficult to handle. So Irfan, we understand your point. And why should there be a slur? That slur is unnecessary. I asked the government, state and central, because they're different and don't agree on anything, to remove the slur. Silvery, what do you think?
I agree. Irfan goes on to say that, in fact, in his opinion, veg should be called non-meat and not it shouldn't be veg, non-veg, should be like meat and non-meat.
So Irfan can replace me in a heartbeat on the podcast. He's fast, he's quick. He's not short-sighted from any angle. Yeah. I like this. Political correctness should go both ways. Don't you think, Silvery? We only want to think of it one way, but you should go always. Why do you call people tall when you can't say midget for people who are horizontally challenged? I think if you're 6'7", I had a guy in the film we were doing, the guy who did the costume was 6'7", Navdeep, lovely guy. And, so we should be calling him tall. That's also disrespectful, isn't it? We should be calling him horizontally emboldened or supercharged. Something like that.
Exactly. What if he's insecure about being tall? Why are you making him more?
What if he doesn't like it all the time? Everywhere you go, tall, lambu, same joke. Exactly. I'm with you. Let's fight this fight for the elite who have no problem with food on the plate. Non-veg or veg or non-meat. Yeah. All right. I think, is that enough or do you want to do one more?
I think that's good. Yeah, very good.
That's good. All right. So we'll salute each other off camera, lower body only. Bye-bye. Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter on Cyrus Says In, or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shinetro.
And me, Farhad.
On our show, Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
and sometimes downright scandalous
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.
Hey, I'm Zarina, your peak performance coach, leadership coach, and life coach. And I'm here to unleash that power within you with your weekly dose of mantras and empowerment. Tune in to Monday Mantras every Monday for your quick fix and the Empowering Series with Zarina Poonawala every Thursday for riveting real-life stories. You can catch us on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.